If you make around $40,000 and feel stuck, you're not behind. You're at the perfect starting line. Here's the counterintuitive truth. Cutting a single $50 per month leak can beat most beginner investing returns when your capital is small. We'll talk about negative friction, the hidden financial drains that work against your wealth-building efforts, like high-interest debt, forgotten subs, and BNPL traps, and how removing them unlocks real compounding power. Then we'll stack the moves, a 3-month safety net and consistent Roth IRA contributions that turn discipline into growth. We'll also cover the path at $75K and $100K. Let's start with the $50 leak that quietly changes everything. So let's talk about the $50 leak that beats your first investment and why it matters most when your base is tiny. What if a $50 cut this month beats a 7% market return when you're starting with almost nothing? That sounds small, but at the $40,000 tier, small is exactly where the game is won. You're not fighting the market yet. You're fighting negative friction. These are the quiet drains that repeat every 30 days and blunt compounding before it even starts. They don't feel dramatic, which is why they survive. But they act like a reverse snowball rolling against you. Here's where most beginners get tripped up. They're searching for the next stock winner while swiping a card with rates north of 20% and letting subscriptions renew in the background. That mix leaks more than most portfolios gain early on. If debt compounds against you at a double-digit rate, any investment you make has to outrun that headwind first. Most months it won't. Put numbers to it. If your card is at 22% APR and you're hoping for a 7% market return, you're effectively battling a 15% gap. That's not a fair fight. Every dollar sitting in high-interest debt is compounding against you faster than your investments can catch up. Let's run a simple analogy. Say you have $200 to invest. A 7% annual return grows that by around $14 in a year. About $1 and change per month. Not life-changing. Now free up $50 every month. That's $600 a year you can redirect, and it doesn't stop. Extend the horizon. Over 5 years, that same $50 per month is $3,000 in principal before any interest. The base you're compounding on grows automatically month after month. The cut scales. The market return on a tiny base does not. This is why the basics matter. Credit card APRs commonly exceed 20%, and late fees on buy now, pay later plans pile on. Overdraft charges quietly tax your cash flow too. That's real money leaving before it ever has a chance to work. A single $50 cut equals $600 a year pre-tax savings. For many people, that's more than any beginner portfolio will produce for a while, and it lands immediately. Start with the forgotten bundle. It's shockingly common to find a $12 music app, a $15 tool you don't use, a $20 gym you haven't visited, and an $8 cloud plan. Add in a $10 BNPL late fee or a $35 overdraft that hits once every few months, and your small stuff isn't small. That's $55 or more recovered in about 10 minutes. You don't need a spreadsheet, just your bank and card statements and a timer. If it doesn't pass the use weekly test, it's on the chopping block. Here's the mental shift that locks this in. Each canceled drain is a guaranteed return. Cut a $20 leak, and you've created a certain $20 monthly gain. There's no volatility, no waiting, and no guesswork. That certainty is motivating. It feels like control. You've raised your savings rate and your compounding base in one move. Clear out negative friction now, and you'll notice something else. The cash freed up accelerates your first safety net faster than you expect. Take the savings you just found and protect it, so random expenses don't knock you off track. Now, channel that momentum into a single priority. Build the $3 month safety net. Fast, simple, non-negotiable. The fastest way to speed up compounding is to stop emergencies from forcing you to cash out. When you don't have a buffer, the market isn't your main opponent. Random expenses are. A single car repair or a surprise copay can wipe out last month's progress and push you back into the cycle you just escaped. That's why you switch to protection first. Your first growth engine is stability, not stocks. You're building a platform that lets every future contribution stay invested long enough to matter. Here's the rule. Set a target of 3 months of essential expenses. not your whole lifestyle, just the bills you must pay to keep the lights on and get to work. For many earners, around $40K, that often falls in the $6,000 to $7,000 range, depending on housing, transport, and insurance. But your number is personal. Pull your bank statements and list the bare minimum costs you can't skip. If your rent is $1,100, utilities average $150, groceries $250, and transport $200, you're near $1,700 a month. Multiply by 3 and you've got a clear number to hit. No guesswork, no vague goals, just a simple finish line that reflects your reality. It's normal to feel discouraged by how long this might take. That feeling is valid, but this is the foundation that makes every later move stick. Emergencies aren't rare. They're regular, which makes them predictable. A flat tire, a dental bill, or a last-minute flight can land at least once or twice a year. Treat that as a cost of living and plan for it in advance. If you fund the buffer now, those events become annoyances instead of debt events. The win is less drama and more consistency. You can build it faster than it sounds with a focused sprint. Start with the $55 you already freed from canceled subs. Add $100 from 2 extra weekly shifts, deliveries, or a weekend task. Call your providers and negotiate bills, phone, internet, or insurance, targeting $75 in monthly reductions. Meal prep 2 nights a week to save $50 you'd usually spend on takeout. That's $280 a month, and it stacks cleanly. A 90-day sprint is great if you can swing it, but adjust the timeline to your situation. Any progress builds momentum. In a quarter, you've banked $840. Keep that pace for 9 months, and you're more than halfway to a typical $6,000 target, before tax refunds, bonuses, or one-off sales of unused gear. Park the money where it does its job. Use a high-yield savings account that sits apart from checking so it doesn't get mixed into daily spending. Open it at a different bank if you need distance. That psychological separation matters. It stops the just this once withdrawals that slowly erode your safety net. Set an automatic transfer on payday for the exact amount you committed. Split it if needed. Half on the first paycheck, half on the second. Keep the account nickname simple and specific so you don't tap it for wants. Once the cushion is in place, investing becomes mechanical. You won't pull money out at the worst time or add new debt when life pops up. And the next move can start small while your system does the heavy lifting. With your base protected, it's time for the Roth IRA. Small dollars, big leverages. What if $100 per month today buys you tax-free options your future self can't afford to miss? That small, repeatable contribution sounds ordinary, but it opens the door to growth you don't have to share with future tax bills. The Roth IRA becomes the next lever because it protects your gains and makes your plan predictable. You're not chasing a hot pick. You're installing a habit that compounds quietly while you live your life. People often skip the Roth because $50 or $100 feels too small to matter. That feeling is common, and it's the trap. The dollar amount isn't the point at first. The streak is. Consistency creates the base that future raises can amplify without stress. Every year you wait, you lose a block of tax-free runway that doesn't come back, and you delay building the muscle that lets you scale later. Here's why a Roth is powerful. Your money grows tax-free, and in retirement, you withdraw gains without a cut going to taxes if you follow the rules. You can also pull out your original contributions at any time without taxes or penalties, which adds flexibility while you're building and eases the worry about locking money away. Give that combination decades and small deposits start doing outsized work because nothing shaves off the top each year. Let's put numbers to it. Contribute $100 a month for 10 years at a 7% annual return and you'll have roughly $17,000. At $200 a month, you cross about $34,000 over the same period. Those are baseline figures. Most people don't stay at their starting contribution forever. Raises and side income let you step up over time. So the end result can be much higher than the initial projection. In a taxable account earning the same return, annual taxes on dividends and realized gains reduce the final total. So you end up with less even if the pre-tax performance matches. The Roth keeps more of the compounding inside the account, which is the quiet edge that shows up later. Use a simple rule to get started. The first $5,000. Automate $100 a month today. When the buffer is full or your income rises, raise it to $200, then $250. You'll hit the first $5K faster than you expect, and that momentum makes the next $5K easier. Keep the investments plain. A low-cost total market index fund or a target date fund removes guesswork and slashes fees. Complexity hurts at this stage because it invites decision paralysis. More choices, more switching, more second-guessing, and higher fees that compound against you. Expense ratios matter because they subtract from your return every single year. A 0.05% fund takes a tiny bite. A 1% fund takes a chunk. Open the account and schedule your first contribution today. Don't wait for the perfect fund or the perfect week. Start small, make it automatic, and let time amplify the habit. As your income climbs, you'll have a clean system ready to absorb more without drifting into waste. At $75,000, the threat isn't emergencies, it's waste that hides in plain sight. This is the psychological shift. You feel like you should be building wealth faster, but spending quietly rises with income. You feel stable, but the leaks get smarter. They don't look like overdrafts anymore. They show up as convenience upgrades, delivery fees, only $9 more plans, and trips that turn into payment plans. The fix isn't a tighter budget. It's measurement framed as awareness, not restriction. More income gives you room, but creeping spend fills the space unless you track where it actually goes. Here's the shift. You move from guessing to knowing. For the next 60 days, track every dollar that enters and leaves. No categories at first, just raw transactions. Treat it like a dashboard, not a diet. By the end of the second month, calculate your real savings rate. Total saved and invested divided by total take-home pay. That number is your speedometer. If it reads 8% when you thought you were at 20%, you found a drag that's slowing compounding. Awareness alone changes behavior. When you see a daily feed of transactions, you react sooner, not later. A coffee subscription you forgot to cancel, the premium plan on a tool you barely use, or ride shares that replaced a short walk. Those become obvious once they show up as a stack of charges. You don't need a new job to increase your savings in this phase. You need a clear baseline you can beat next month. Build a simple scoreboard for net worth. Once a month on the same date, record assets, debts, and the difference. Keep a running list of milestones that make sense at this income. 1 year of income saved by 30 if you're early, 2 by mid-30s, and 3 by 40 if you're pushing hard. And adjust based on your starting line. If you begin later, shift the timeline rather than abandoning the target. The direction matters more than the exact age stamp. The scoreboard turns vague goals into a visible trend line you can improve on schedule. Now set a hard savings rate target, 20 to 30% of take-home, and protect it first. Automate transfers on payday to your investment accounts and high-yield savings before any discretionary spend hits. Split the automation across pay periods so the cash flow feels smooth. This works because it removes a monthly decision point. By moving the money before you see it, you take willpower and mood out of the equation and turn saving into the default. This is where compounding shifts from sporadic to predictable. A locked-in savings rate means each month adds a known amount of capital. Market gains become a bonus instead of the entire plan. Waste gets squeezed at the source because the money leaves your checking before it can drift. Do 2 actions tonight. Pick a tracking tool you'll actually use, spreadsheet, bank aggregator, or app, and turn on daily transaction alerts. Then set calendar reminders for net worth day each month. Keep the process boring and the numbers honest. With momentum at $75K, you're ready to prevent lifestyle creep and direct the extra income with intention. At higher income, the lever shifts from tracking to choosing. At $100K plus, control lifestyle, aim at a number, allocate with intention. 6 figures can make you look rich while keeping you poor, unless you cap the creep and target freedom. It shows up like this: a luxury car lease, a premium apartment, 3 streaming bundles, and weekly dining that feels deserved, while your savings account barely moves. At this level, the game changes from surviving to designing. You're not saving what's left, you're deciding what stays. The move is simple: fixed percentage upgrades. You can improve life, nicer apartment, better travel, upgraded tools. But you protect a minimum savings rate before any of it hits. Lifestyle grows on a leash. Let's break it down. Decide your raise rule. For every increase in pay, direct a fixed percentage, say 70% into higher savings and investing, and allow 30% to flow to lifestyle. Or lock a flat savings rate across the board, like 30% of take-home, no exceptions. Here's why this works. You still feel the raise, which keeps motivation high, but most of the increase fuels wealth instead of recurring costs that are hard to unwind. When you convert raises into autopilot contributions, the creep stalls by design. You get upgrades, and your future stays funded. More income creates more spend categories. Gym plus studio classes, groceries plus meal kits. One car turns into two. The illusion of wealth shows up when your calendar gets full and your cash gets thin. You end up with better stuff, but less investment fuel. The way out is to aim at a number and reverse engineer the monthly target that hits it. Define your financial independence number using a simple rule of thumb. Take your expected annual spending in retirement and multiply it by 25 to 30. Those multiples come from historical safe withdrawal rates, rough guidelines showing how much a portfolio can sustainably distribute over long retirements. That gives you a rough portfolio target. Now translate it into a monthly investing goal. If you need $1.2 million, you might target $3 to $4 grand invested per month depending on your timeline and expected returns. This turns a vague dream into a payment plan. Here's the key insight. At higher incomes, savings rate shortens the journey more than chasing higher returns. A steady 30 to 40% savings rate can cut years off your timeline because you're adding large chunks of new capital each month. Markets will swing. Your contribution schedule shouldn't. Use a practical allocation. First, max your workplace plan and your Roth or backdoor Roth if eligible. Next, funnel overflow into a taxable brokerage for flexible goals. Layer in optional real estate only if it fits your time and risk tolerance. Keep a small sleeve, around 5% for calculated growth bets where you have genuine expertise or insight, not guesses in unfamiliar territory. The core stays simple, automated, and low cost. Set decision rules that prevent chaos. Only add new assets after you've automated core contributions for 6 straight months. Don't upgrade cars, housing, or recurring commitments unless your minimum savings rate stays intact after the upgrade. When a bonus arrives, pre-assign it. Percentage to investments, percentage to future travel, and a small slice for fun paid in cash. This is the shift from chasing returns to engineering a repeatable system. Your calendar, not your mood, moves the money. From here, the next move is about honoring the order that lets compounding work without interruption. Conclusion. Respect compounding by removing what fights it first, then fund what multiplies it. That order is the edge because each dollar you protect becomes a worker you don't have to replace. Cut the frictions, lock stability, then automate growth. Skip the shortcuts. Systems beat guesses. Run the 24-hour leak audit. Name your safety account so it's untouchable, or open it today while you wait for the next video. Schedule your first Roth contribution even if it's small. Tell me which tier you're in, 40K, 75K, or 100K plus, and your current savings rate. Next, we'll unpack savings rate math, why contributions move the needle more than chasing returns, and how a few percentage points can compress years.